Alright, so for the Hall case, you're interested in two things. First, you're interested in just how flexible gender is in Native American societies versus in English colonial society. We're going to see with Hall's case, super static. There's no flexibility. It's completely a binary. The second thing you're interested in with Hall's case is the ways in which women have ability to exercise a little bit of power, right? They don't have positions of power, but they're still going to find ways to use their voice and exercise power. So those two things. So as far as Hall's case, we're not too sure what brought Hall into the Virginia court in the 1620s. There's some evidence to suggest in the record that Hall was, though presenting as male, was doing needlecraft. And again, gender is really static in English colonial society, and so a man wouldn't have the skills of a woman. So the sole purpose to bring Hall into court is to determine whether Hall is male or female. So the courts order a search of Hall's body. At this point, Hall must be presenting as female because the women would never search the body as male. The women determine Hall to be male. Now this case is going to go back and forth quite a bit. You're not worried about all the back and forth. You're interested in what this case tells us about gender and English colonial society and where we can see women kind of exercising some power. Okay, so the women determine Hall to be male. The court then orders a search of Hall's body by the men, and the men determine Hall to be female. The court sides with the men. This gets the women in a tumult. The women said Hall was male, and now the court is siding with the men and saying Hall is female. So, the court orders another search of Hall's body. Again, women search Hall's body, and again the women determine Hall to be male. So then the court has the men search Hall's body, and the men at this point determine Hall to be male. Perhaps they just decided to side with the women so the women will stop being all in a tumult. But right, that search of Hall's body happened again because the women were like, we're saying it's this. Finally, they asked Hall for Hall's self-definition. Hall, according to the criminal record, replies, quote, to be both man and woman. When the court issues the decision, the court surprisingly honors Hall's self-definition. However, the court's decision is not respectful in that the court decides that Hall will wear the head covering of a woman and the apron of a woman, but the pants and the shirt of a man, which is going to make Hall a complete outcast. Now, I can't tell you what happened to Hall after this case. Hall only shows up in the colonial record in this case, which again speaks to something that you saw at the start of this module with the Midwife's Tale video, how difficult it is to find the voices of those people who are often hidden from history. So we don't know what happens to Hall after this case. But again, think about that decision. And it again shows how static gender is. Gender is determined by what you wear and by what you do. Because again, remember it was that needlework, perhaps, that got Hall in trouble in the first case when Hall was presented as male but doing needlework. So again, in English colonial society, it's very static. Gender is decided or determined by what you do, by your roles, and by what you wear. Very different than what we saw in Native American society. And then two, the other thing to think about is just the way that we saw women kind of shifting things and making things happen, even though they aren't serving as judges or lawyers. Women aren't even on juries until the 1970s, really. So they don't have those traditional sources of power in the colonial period. We gotta kind of look other ways. All right. If you've got any questions, be sure to put those in the discussion board. Take care.